the IEC has just unveiled its logo and its theme, and the theme is "It's Your Democracy, Own It." And of course, this is ahead of the national and provincial elections next year. Remember, this is a big one. Not only is South Africa turning 30 years old in its young democracy, but of course, these are watershed elections where independent candidates for the first time will be allowed to actually participate and vie for those seats in the National Assembly, of course, and the various legislatures. But of course, as SABC News, we promise to give you various reactions from various leaders of political parties. And of course, we are starting off here with the IFP, Mr. SABC. Thank you so much for joining us in SABC News. I mean, are you happy? You've seen the theme, you've seen the logo, it's your democracy, own it. What does the IFP have to say?
The IFP welcomes the initiative by IEC as it has done today, and we agree with the theme. Indeed, it is our democracy and we all have to own it. The message is very clear. The first thing, all people of South Africa, especially the 13 million unregistered voters, we want to encourage all those people to go and register. They have to defend our democracy. Next year must be a turning point and a watershed moment in our country, as we did in 1994 to remove the apartheid government. 2024 is a year to remove a government that has failed our country. We want to make a clarion call to the 14 million people who are dormant voters, who see no reason of participating in the election process. The message is simple. If you are not satisfied and you don't participate, the status quo will remain. The only solution, be part of the change, be part of the solution. We will be rolling out as the IFP our program on the 28th of this month, Kungawe. It is about you. It is about each and every voter to make a change in our country next year by registering and casting our vote and give the IFP the opportunity to govern our country.
Mr. SABC, thank you so much. Before I toss to our political editor, Zwandile Mbeche, who also has other leaders of political parties, studio, may I please just speak to Mr. Franny Groenewald, who's the leader of the FF Plus. You're also part of the multi-party democracy pre-election coalition. We've heard what they said, 18th and 19th of voter registration weekend, 26 million people on the voters roll, but unfortunately we saw in the 2021 municipal elections only 12 million people coming out. What is your message to the electorate of South Africa?
Well, my message is, and that is also the logo the IEC is now using, it's your democracy. We must strengthen it. We must remember a democracy is only as strong as the number of people who vote when there is an election. And the people are not satisfied what is happening in South Africa. Now, the opposition parties, 8 of them came together, we took hands and we said, we will work together to ensure that we save South Africa. There's no one single opposition party who on its own will be able to oust the ANC government. But if we take hands, we will do that. But that doesn't mean that we will merge. The coalition will formally be formed after the election, but the people of South Africa has an opportunity now. They must register. There's about 14 million people not even registered that can vote. And if we do vote and register, then we strengthen the democracy, then we can create a better South Africa, we can save South Africa.
Mr. Groenewald, thank you so much. Before I toss back to Mzandile, I'm now joined by Ntuli, who's the ANC's election campaign manager. I hope I got that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. So another issue for the IEC is voter apathy, especially amongst young people. Young people find no resonance between political parties, and there's this a certain mistrust between young people and politicians. Some are saying, listen, they have no faith in the ANC government. As the ANC, what is your message?
Well, this has been a very exciting period. The past 3 decades, I mean, these elections are taking place 30 years down the line. when our country began the democratic process in 1994. And this journey has essentially not been a journey without challenges and difficulties. There have been moments of victory and success which really inspired the majority of our people, but there were also setbacks, which is inherent to any democratic transition and any democratic process. We are convinced as the ANC that the work that we've done together with our people over the past 3 decades has essentially gained us massive experience and knowledge about governance and about the challenges that faces our people day and night in South Africa. So we're very certain that as we approach the elections next year, the support of our people to go out and vote and the support for the ANC will equally be reaffirmed. Because as I'm saying, nobody in this country except the ANC has acquired the necessary experience, knowledge and skills to govern, despite the fact that there have been many challenges that we've had to confront with and for which we're dealing with even at the moment.
Mr. Ntuli, thank you so much for your time. I do understand that Mzandile Mbeje is also has some guests, so let's just quickly toss to him, and of course you'll come back to us. We'll be speaking to the IEC chair and of course ATM President Vuyile Zungula.
While we continue with reactions from here, and then of course you've heard the communication plans of the IEC and the most important stakeholders, obviously in the form of political parties and those who will be candidates are here. But as I've said, the most important people in the election are those voters, those that I will be casting the votes. But of course, there's a vehicle that they would need. And with me is the leader of the Patriotic Alliance. He has tried, I don't know what sort of trying he will do this time around. Mr. Mackenzie, so you've been playing this game and then you have not made it to national parliament. What makes you believe you are going there this time around?
No, definitely, we are not those two-minute noodle parties. Our growth is organic. We are currently the fastest growing political party in the country, proven. The last 4 by-elections we took part in, won. So we are not, if you look at our last result, if how many votes would have been in parliament, it was a national election. We've had 6 seats, it was a national election. But now we're definitely going in with 25 seats into the national parliament. 25 seats because we're the fastest growing political party in South Africa.
What are you going to offer differently to what other parties are offering?
I'm going to have mass deportation of illegal foreigners. I'm going to bring God back into our lives. I'm going to bring the death penalty back, and I'm going to cancel race. We are going to make sure that we are one people, one South Africa. While the Springboks are uniting us, I'm going to take it further by making sure we become one nation. But the illegal foreigners, the IEC is doing a brilliant job. Let me tell you, I'm so impressed today with them. The only thing they do check is this fake IDs of the illegal foreigners. We are going to mass deport all illegal foreigners in this country.
Just before I let you go, and then you stood up the past weekend, you are one of the very few parties who have been openly showing support for Israel. What are you saying, given the events that are happening right now, looking at the death of people on either side, but of course the Palestinians who are seen as vulnerable because they've been occupied for long?
No, definitely. You see, to understand the PA's geopolitical strategy, you must understand that it's not a zero-sum game. You are not for Palestine, and then meaning you are against Israel. We don't play that game. We want a two-state solution. We want the Palestinians to have their land. We want the Israelis to have their land. But you see, this thing where you're either for one and against the other, it doesn't work like that. What we are saying as the Patriotic Alliance is that we want to be friends with all countries in the world, including Palestine, including Israel. We want to be friends with everybody. Israel has just gone through an attack and paying sympathy and supporting people that's going through attack where their children has been taken, that I'm not denouncing anything that has happened to the Palestinians and saying that, no, the Palestinians are not victims. Both these people are victims, but we will never support Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization. You must not make a mistake and say Hamas is Palestine. 20% of the that they launch into Israel falls into Palestine. Palestinians die at the hands of Hamas. And don't take my word, take the word of the Saudi Arabia prince that said it. So Hamas is a terrorist organization. And those that said we must boycott Israel, we must boycott Israeli products, are they crazy? Penicillin, phones, let them boycott everything. Don't just talk about food, Woolworths. Boycott everything, that we'll see will we survive here.
Well, we'll take that discussion further, at the appropriate platform. Thank you very much, Ms. Mackenzie.
Thank you to my brother. Was Baizani.
All right. Well, that's Mr. Mackenzie there is quite energetic about this. But of course, we continue to speak to the leaders here. With me is the leader of the official opposition, John Steenhuisen, who's going to be telling us if he is taking over as president next year.
Well, certainly, if one looks at the polling that's come out in the last week, the Brenthurst Foundation poll that came out, the ANC is in deep trouble. I think that there's everything to play for in this next election, and it's going to come down to the voters. And I think that's the key message to people, that political parties are your instrument, but you're the force for change. And every one of those 13.8 million people who are not registered need to get onto the voters' rolls so they can vote. And those 14 million people who didn't come out to vote in the last election need to be part of that change agenda.
What are you going to do differently to get those 14 million people out? Because even in the past elections, these messages have been going out to those who are not voting, come out. They have not. What is it that will be different this time round?
Big difference this election. There's a credible path to victory. The multi-party charter, if one looks at the polling that came out last week, is well within shooting distance of the ANC's majority. And I really think that we have united as political parties, and it's now up to the electorate to unite behind the multi-party charter that can get over the finish line. There's a credible path to victory now that can unseat the ANC and usher in a new era of government.
You're talking about the multi-party charter, and of course, very hopeful. But not everyone is really buying into that. So you've been wanting other parties to join, they have not been.
Well, we've just had the newest party join last week, the ACDP. We're up to 8. That's around 34% of the vote. And if one looks at the election results in Poland last week, that is a very good place to start going into an election, and certainly better than any opposition party who's been in there. So we're going to add more parties as more and more people realize that this is South Africa's only viable path to unseating the ANC and ushering a new government next year.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you, Mzwayi.
Well, there is John Steenhuisen there, the leader of the official opposition, who has just said the path to victory is getting clearer. And of course, with me is another leader of the ATM that is represented in Parliament. You are here. Are you confident you are going to increase the numbers that we have currently, or you're still going to look for partners?
Look, we're definitely going to increase. However, today's launch did not address the critical issues. The first one is the lower voter turnout, of which we would hope that the IEC would have embarked on voter registration, voter education programs to increase the knowledge of people so that we increase the number of people who actually vote. Also, the question of ANC-aligned SATU teachers who are always presiding officers. Also, the questions of the illegalities that happen in all of the voting stations. So, in our view, yes, the elections are coming. However, IEC has to address the critical issues that erode the credibility of the electoral processes.
Have you raised those issues?
Yes, definitely we've raised those issues. We've written to the IEC. Every time the PLC meetings are sitting, our member there does raise these issues.
So what has been the response from the IEC and those concerned?
Look, it is always the same thing that they are going to look towards it, particularly on the question of voter education. There's a limitation in terms of funding, of which in our view, voter education is critical for these coming elections.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There is Vuyolwet Zungula, the leader of the ATM. And then, of course, we continue with a number of leaders who are here. With me is ActionSA. They are hoping to really crack it. They are new. They only contested within 6 municipalities. So are you also going to be choosing provinces, or are you going full steam this time around?
No, despite only contesting in 6 municipalities in 2021 and coming 6th in the country, we will be contesting all 9 provinces and on the national ballot. And we are convinced that South Africa needs a political alternative in all 9 provinces, and that is what we seek to provide. I think importantly, we've been building our structures on the ground over the last year. As you well know, election campaigns are won on the ground, and that's where ActionSA has been investing its time to ensure we have the structures to deliver our campaign.
So you're looking forward to the multi-party charter as well, or you putting all this energy into ActionSA?
Now, our energy is all about ActionSA, and the best thing we can do for the multi-party charter is have the very best result for ActionSA. ActionSA has a lot to contribute to that charter. We're proven as a political party that can win support from the ruling party, and that is what's going to be required to deliver change in South Africa, and that is how we will contribute to the charter, by having the best ActionSA result.
Just a quick one. The elephant in the room in the multi-party charter, who will be your preferred president?
It's a matter that isn't even under discussion at the moment. It's said to be an issue we may wish to visit closer to the elections, but Mzwai, right now every political party needs to generate the most results it can by campaigning behind their president. Our president is Herman Mashaba, and we're going to work to make sure we win as many votes as we can under his leadership.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, there is Michael Pimond of the ActionSA there saying they are very busy with the election. And then, of course, we've got a number of other leaders here. Oh, you can come across. I'm going to speak to you as well and find out exactly what is it that you are going to do differently this time round. We spoke, I remember, a couple of years ago, and then you were so full of promises. Are you going to win this election?
Well, you assisted us to launch our manifesto campaign. We gave our manifesto promise. We delivered fully on our manifesto promise. This is maybe not the time to go into it, but I'm going to give you a heads up on the new manifesto promise that we're going to come for 2024. First of all, we want to own the democracy by means of reimagining politics. And we are the experts in co-governing. Just see what we're doing in Joburg.
In fact, I was just about to go there. Are you happy with what you as Jama-ah are doing here in Joburg? As president, obviously, you have an eye on what exactly is happening currently. If you look at Joburg, do you think there's been an improvement under your leadership?
Yes, there has been dramatic improvements because we have an activist mayor that spends 2 days looking at whether the city of Joburg is implementing its programs and whether the line items which has the budgets is being spent. So we are making tremendous progress in so many areas, and I'm very proud that Jama-ah is assisting the mayor. We also assisted the previous mayor. Maybe we didn't assist him enough, but we are now running the city of Joburg for 10 months, and we intend being there till the end of the term. So we are a co-governing party, not a coalition party. We are a co-governing party, and we've reimagined politics. Where do you have a party with 3 councillors in the metro that 9 political parties are confident in, that they tell Jama-ah, please lead us. The Premier comes to me and says, please lead us. And so we are doing very well in the city of Joburg, and we are going to make sure that in the city of Joburg and in national government, there is not a return to white rule. If we have a white president, if the DA wins with their partners and we have a white president, then South Africa will be the only country in Africa that has a return to white rule. We want to prevent that. We want the liberation movement, and I'm an optimist that the values of the liberation movement will prevail.
Can I just come in there before I close? You're talking about the white president and the white rule. So South Africa is currently a democracy. If South Africans decide to give John Steenhuisen, who is white, is there a problem? Because South Africans will have decided?
Yes, it is a problem because the liberation movement, we are still, trying to advance transformation, and we feel that South Africa, now is not the time to have white rule in South Africa. Maybe in a few years.
What if black people decide it must be a white man
or
woman?
If black people decide, a woman is no problem.
White?
If they decide, no, any woman. is no problem because of the discrimination in the past. But let's talk about if South Africa decide to have a white male president, that will be anti-revolutionary. That's not why people fought in the trenches. We want to show that blacks can rule, and blacks can rule very well.
And then, of course, we decided that we shall be a non-racial country, so which means we can vote anyone.
Look, of course, you can vote for anyone, but we are sure that the principles and values of Oliver Tambo, of those before him, will prevail, and that South Africa will be under black rule and not white rule.
Well, we'll take the discussion forward. I mean, the election is about to continue, and then, of course, it's going to pick up. We'll explore those issues further.
Thank you very much.
Well, there was the leader there of Jama-ah, Hendricks, who is basically saying whatever happens, no white man should take over come 2024.